question about how to deal with emotional abuse, how to deal with it. More specifically, narcissism, NPD, in reform circles, misusing the Bible to get one's own goals rather than what's best for the child. To an extreme in terms of legalism and what constitutes when the child needs to obey, tyranny, and how it affects the child growing up, and how it can be tangled up to get out of a deal with, create boundaries as an adult once physically out of the situation. I mean, I think there's a lot of this happening where the Bible gets misconstructed or misused for power or control over your kids. I think if you're above 18 and your parents are still trying to control you, like you're an adult, you have your own brain, like you're not under anybody's control. You can take their advice, like you can listen, but you're free to make your own decisions. And you're ultimately
what's happened in some circles is where there's so much pressure because of family pressure, which is like so unhealthy. But now you're making like basically a spiritual decision based on what your family thinks. And if you think about how dangerous that is, right? Like I've said it to people before, like in an honest moment, it's like, and I think I probably even said it on here, but you don't get to, I read about the judgment day in the book of Peter there. Like you don't get to say, well, my parents I would have lost my family, right? You know what I mean? And there's even other verses that talk about you'll leave your mother, you'll leave your father. Like I just think, I guess, excuse me. I just feel like, it's just human nature. It just wouldn't just be in the kind of the background where we come from or whatever. Or it wouldn't be just in certain church circles. Even I think all cultures have it. But really as people, if we truly love someone, we would hope obviously that they're doing the right thing. We would also be humble enough to realize that, hey, maybe we haven't nailed it. And I think like my parents have been an amazing example of that.
Of not having nailed it.
This came up also in the meeting this morning and everybody said, no, your parents did amazing. You're an idiot. You're the problem. No, my parents did do a good job, but my parents have always been, they've always put my own faith they've always wanted me to have my own faith. They've always wanted me to seek truth. They've obviously have a bent and they feel strongly about what they believe. But their top priority has always been that we're following the Lord, their kids. They've always prayed for us. They always put our marriages ahead of what they felt was important, which is just there again. Like I can picture people that I've talked to in the last year where the parents were more concerned about their child following exactly what they think rather than being concerned about their marriage with their spouse or their family, right? And it's just not biblical. It's like you leave your father and your mother, you cleave to your wife. And as a dad, and this is where, there again, I put it mostly on men because I think men abdicate and women have to make the hard decisions as a general rule in a lot of these situations. But men need to take responsibility. They need to defend their family. They need to stand up to their parents or whatever and say, no, this is what our family's doing. And I mean, there again, do it humbly, do it respectfully. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if someone says, hey, I just don't like what you're doing, and they literally couldn't pull, a swath of scripture and say, hey, you're really offside, I'm really concerned. There again, it's hardly ever done in love. It's done threateningly. Yeah. It's back to probably the heart of the question. It's like, it's done from this attitude of, hey, control. I'm not, or this reflects poorly on me because, hey, you're my kid and you're not going to my church, or you're not, hey, we didn't raise you to be like this, right? And there again, I mean, I've embarrassed my parents probably more than anybody in my younger years and maybe even now just doing this podcast. But I mean, just the idea of like, hey, why are you doing what you're doing? And we were taught this as kids. That's what's actually fascinating. We were taught you only need to answer to one. Like we were taught that, right? But practically, it didn't look like that. Yeah. There was this societal pressure of like, hey, are we all checking all the boxes the same way all the time, right? Yeah,
or you only answer to one, but it's through the elder's interpretation or the pastor's interpretation of what that is.
So that's what's been interesting even about our church, and it's uncomfortable for me because I don't know if it's because I'm Dutch or or maybe just how I was raised, or maybe it's just human nature to some extent. But I've always felt this this comfort in the box. Like there again, people say, "Oh, you're not in the box person," but no, it's amazing how, like at our church, we believe that there are primary issues, secondary issues. There's tiers, right? And second and third, for sure, third tier issues.
What would be third tier issues that?
Well, something really basic, which has gotten a lot of, like lately it's come up because we were at a church in Mexico and it came up. We were at some Calvary Chapel and they made it, like they didn't make it a first tier issue, but they almost did. And it was eschatology. It was like end times theology, right? And there's churches that just, if you differ on that, they'll just berate you until you are aligned, and they'll start to really like, well, you're just not reading scripture clearly, right? Well, there are godly people who are in the word all the time, and they really disagree on this. So like, we can agree that that is just not a primary issue, right? And we're not going to fight over it. And we're going to worship together, right?
And you can still have an honest discussion, but as that honest discussion is being not done out of a love for that person's soul, then like...
Yeah, and I always struggle with, and I do it too, you and I do it, like we get into these big, even with our friends and, a guy like Matt Keane, like we have big discussions about this, and it's fine. It's in jest and it's healthy, probably even just for us to challenge ourselves on where we stand on these things. But I always think, man, with the amount of people that we know that are, not walking with Lord, just kind of like really struggling, just the amount of problems and things that, good things that we could be doing with our time, how much time do we really want to be spending arguing the fine points of second and third tier issues?
So I think the question is coming more from like, if you're being berated by a parent, or like in a home where a parent is super controlling, and even in your adult years.
Take a stand.
Yeah.
You have to take a stand, and it's not easy, right? And I think that you need support. So you should be finding people that are supportive. And I look at, even in my experience in my life with situations like I've had like that, I mean, often it's the oldest sibling that wears the weight of it. If they take the stand, or maybe they don't. Maybe the oldest sibling is the chosen one, or they're just not willing, or they just agree, or whatever. There may be 1,000 different reasons. Yeah. But they just stay there, and then, hey, maybe it's another sibling. Maybe it's the middle child. But I think,
and I would say, hey guys, if you enjoy that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here, and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.